Right now, we're wondering what the third millennium holds in store for us. What will become of humanity? Where are we going? What if the past held some of these answers? Understanding where we've come from may give us an idea of where we're heading. Revisiting the great eras in history is a way of getting to know ourselves better. So why not come with me on a journey of discovery to find out how we got here? Throughout history, there have been decisive steps for mankind. In Genesys, you can be there as these great events unfold, and who knows, maybe you'll even be able to play your part. Let me tell you a great story, the wonderful story of human evolution. It all began with a huge explosion, the Big Bang, about 12 billion years ago. And before that, there was nothing. At least that's the theory. It took 1 billion years for the first galaxies to form, and another 5 billion years for our solar system to be created. It was around this time that our Earth came into existence. It then took a mere 2 billion years for the Earth to cool down and for an envelope of gas to gradually cover the globe. Ammonia, methane, carbon dioxide were some of the gases constituting the atmosphere. And yet it was only 3 billion years ago that life appeared. Primitive life forms frolicked in the original melting pot. And from carbon dioxide, they produced oxygen that was essential for our lungs in the future. It was another 2 billion years before more complex forms of life began to emerge. Thereafter, things started to speed up. First came the fish, and then the batrachians, who were the first to reach dry land. This was 310 million years ago. By successive mutations and adaptations, life eventually took the form of the famous dinosaurs, who reigned for almost 200 million years. Then all of a sudden, they disappeared, making way for mammals that gradually diversified and evolved, leaving many species extinct along the way. Forests made way for the savannas in East Africa about 8 million years ago. It is here that famous Lucy and her fellow creatures, whom we call Australopithecus, evolved. These new kind of primates walked erect. Even though they still climb trees now and then, old habits die hard. Did they stand upon their hind legs to see beyond the high grass of the savannah? No one will ever know. In any case, they lived there for at least 3 million years. Then, about 2 million years ago, they gave way to those we call Homo habilis. These ancestors were endowed with special skills, that of striking one stone hard against another, in order to get a sharp edge, for example. Imagine the number of crushed fingers and fruitless attempts it took to get to these sublime cutting objects, humanity's first tools. These human beings did have the ability to communicate, however primitively. The young, seeing their elders throwing stones, probably began doing so themselves, no doubt causing a few accidents over the years. The Homo habilis had the ability to remember their actions. Thus began the transmission of knowledge. These primitive gestures make us smile. And yet, they show an amazing capacity of adaptation and constitute a decisive stage in humanization. Around 2 million years ago, Homo erectus left Africa to go to Europe and Asia. Around 500,000 years ago, they discovered that some materials were more suited than others for making tools. They began to sharpen flint, working it carefully into different shapes and designs to suit their various needs. Sometimes, during their long walks through the savannas, they came across a strange thing that was part animal, part spirit, something that was impervious to their stone tools. One day, some of the more courageous men cautiously started to poke at the dying flames of a fire. Amazing! The thing came from the sky and had a strange property of climbing up twigs and burning them. Homo erectus soon began using these flames to cook food, to scare animals, to light caves, and to keep himself warm. What a discovery! Homo erectus evolved, stood up straighter, and the size of his skull increased. He made use of fire and now possessed various tools. Massive numbers of babies died at birth, and life expectancy did not exceed 30 years. Added to this was the fact that the Earth entered into an ice age that lasted nearly 500,000 years. Man's adaptation to these climatic changes played an important role in his evolution. To protect himself, Homo erectus dressed in fur, built huts for himself, and settled at or near the entrance of caves.
Careful! Push it! Push!
Easy does it. Ow!
Rub, rub. Quick, quick. Fire.
We are somewhere in the Near East, between 15,000 and 9,000 BC. The harvest is not enough for the tribe to feed itself. For a long time now, men have had to venture further and further to bring back food. Once again, man shows amazing abilities to adapt. Was the sight of a young shoot emerging from the soil, at the spot where men generally spat their pips, that made one of them realize that these seeds could give birth to another plant? The fact remains that agriculture appears all around the globe. Wheat and barley were cultivated in the Near East, sorghum was planted in Africa, rice and millet in Asia. And much later, maize, potato and cassava were grown in America. Gradually, man also learned to domesticate animals. First, it was the dog about 12,000 years ago. Then, about 8,000 years ago, it was the turn of goats and sheep and cows. Milk from these animals quenched the thirst of their breeders and helped them make cheese. Their way of life changed completely. Man became sedentary, settling in one place and growing his food. He learned to control nature, no longer dependent on its goodwill. To defend their new possessions, cultivators formed small towns, built on hillsides that were sometimes surrounded by walls. For the sake of security, man had resolved to sacrifice part of his freedom. This was a boon as well as a bane for civilization. Society began to take on a structure about 5,000 years ago. Craftsmen, soldiers, merchants, and governments came into existence. The first towns were founded in Mesopotamia. Global human population was close to 4 million.
Come on now! Come on, my beauty! Go on now! Heave ho! Heave ho! Come on now! Come on, my beauty! Go on now! Heave ho! Heave ho!
The soil is like a rock. This should keep the animals fed over the winter. Now roll on sundown. We're going to dance and sing the night away.
Oh, typical. You can dance when the job's done.
Yeah. Anyway, the chief slaughtered the sheep, so I'm going to eat and then dance.
I won't be doing any dancing unless my husband's there. I can't sleep without him.
Shall I put some more wood on the fire to keep the pots hot?
Yes, but not too much. The clay has to cook slowly or it'll crack.
Thread the wool thick or thin, and the cloth will be heavy or light.
Spin, spin, the cloth will be soft and fine.
Honey glazed pots. Salt-fired pots.
The earth is beautiful, the harvest is plentiful. It's a beautiful time of year.
The horned animals are not as docile as the woolly ones. I reckon I picked the right job.
This way! Whoa! Don't get excited! Oh, that one. Always trying to escape.
Phew, I could drink some of that now.
There'll be time for drinking when the work is done. Hold the animal tight while I fleece the beggar.
So, getting much milk?
A little milk for the sheep shearers. A little milk to take back to the village. Thank you.